is now being recorded.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, Chair of the Public Safety Committee meeting, and I want to welcome you all to our Public Safety Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember O'Farrell.
Present.
Councilmember Buscaino is absent at the moment. Councilmember De Leon.
Here.
Councilmember Harris Dawson is also absent. 3 members present. You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, would you please announce the call-in information for the members of the public who wish to speak on today's agenda item?
Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-586-7607 and then press the number sign. Press the number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak.
Thank you so much. And we do have some callers that have called in, and we will go ahead and begin public comment.
Caller ending in 9682, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd wish to speak on.
Number ending in 9682, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Hello, caller.
Caller ending in 5699, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Caller ending in 9092, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Number ending in 9092, press *6 to unmute yourself. Next caller ending in 1552, ending in 1552, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Caller ending in 4208, press *6 to unmute yourself. Number ending in 4208, press *6.
Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Madam Chair, we were having some technical issues earlier. May we just take a 2-minute pause to see if we're having a connection issue with our Zoom meeting again, please?
Of course. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Madam Chair, we should be okay to resume public comment at this time.
Terrific, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, caller ending in 9682, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. With the number ending in 9682, please press star 6.
Hi, caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Next caller ending in 9092, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Next caller ending in 7960, ending in 7960, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Caller ending in 5699, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Ending in 5699, press star 6. Caller ending in 1552, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Number ending in 1552, press star 6.
Hi, my name is Carlos Leon. I'm here to.
Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Carlos, and I would like to provide general public comment and reference Council File 20875.
So, I'm sorry.
Ending in 5699, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Ending in 5699, press star 6.
Hello, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
There's a long delay.
There's a, yeah, long delay.
My apologies, Madam Chair. It appears that someone muted the Zoom call. I made an announcement earlier. If members in the meeting can please refrain from muting other members, specifically the 1669 number, because now I have to reconnect with the public comment if you would like to resume.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. I think the problem with the caller was that he was listening to it on another device, so he was getting a lot of feedback and we were hearing it twice.
Okay.
You can just bear with me a couple more minutes while I dial back into the Zoom and try to reconnect us with the public callers.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
D followed by pound. You entered 1615861. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 10 participants in the meeting. The host will be informed that you would like to speak. You have been muted by the meeting host and cannot unmute yourself.
Are we ready, Madam Clerk, or?
You are unmuted.
Yes, Madam Chair, we're ready.
Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. We're going to do public comment.
Okay, so we're going to try this public comment one more time. So callers, when you hear your the last 4 digits of your number, please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Hi, caller. State your, which number?
9682.
9682.
9682. This is he.
Hi. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak
Okay, in general public comment for Public Safety Committee. My name is Dr. Clyde Thomas Williams. I live in El Sereno 90032 and am a director on the LA 32 Neighborhood Council. These comments are specific to the safety element update being done by the Department of City Planning and how they don't even reference the fact that LA City Fire Department and Police Departments should be involved, but they only allow that the safety element of the update of the general plan will be reviewed at a state level. Not even city nor the county will be provided with review copies as per what they say in their document. So I'm quite concerned that the city's fire department and police department are not participating and not coordinating with the Department of City Planning regarding the safety element update. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling in.
Next caller ending in 9092. 9092. Press star 6 to unmute.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon, Adriana Wong, ACLU of Southern California in the Push LA Coalition. General public comment in reference to Council File 200875.
Terrific. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you. The ACLU of Southern California was a co-sponsor of the Racial Identity and Profiling Act, and what the data shows is that Black and brown people in the city are stopped and searched by LAPD officers at rates far higher than white people. Black residents make up approximately 9% of the population in the city, yet account for 27% of the people stopped by LAPD. And these stops are not without consequence, even though they're not shown to result in the uncovering of dangerous contraband or anything like that. We hear about the trauma that people face as a result of these stops, being pulled out of their vehicles, being threatened. And in some cases, in the worst cases, we've heard about serious violence as a result of minor equipment violations. The motion that the city introduced in this summer, or last summer, many months ago, says that it is long past time for the city to consider reimagining public safety when it comes to transportation and traffic. And we would like, therefore, for the city to immediately agendize this motion for a vote.
Thank you so much.
Next caller ending with the number 7960, ending in 7960, press star 6.
Hi, caller. Would you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Carlos Leon. I would like to provide general public comment in reference to Council File 20-0875.
Terrific. You've got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Carlos Leon with Community Coalition. One, we keep hearing stories of our members in South Central LA that are dealing with the current pandemic with anxiety, stress, eviction, so much trauma that's still happening. And yet, to add more trauma is the ongoing stops and harassment that are happening. Traffic stops, as it's been talked about for over a year now, since last June, which was a motion that should be on the agenda and voted on immediately, should not have gone to the Public Safety Committee. It should have stayed in the City Council in the hearing and get voted on. Also, what we're seeing is that it's really disappointing that the Metro Division just got redeployed. We know that this is going to further criminalize our Black and brown community in South Central LA. It's a really backward moves. We know that what our community really needs is not more stops, not more harassment. We are in dire need of housing, of support, of connections, mental wellness, not more harassment, not more stops, and not more shootings in our community. Really push to hope to have the motion be put back on the City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next caller ending with the number 3136, ending in 3136, press star 6 to unmute.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hey, can you folks hear me?
Yes. What's your name and what items would you like to speak on?
Hey, my name is David Turner. I'd like to speak on Agenda Item 5 and general public comment related to Council File 200875.
Terrific. You have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute for item 5. Go ahead.
Awesome. I'd like to combine the time. So, hello, my name is David Turner. I'm the manager of the Brother Son Selves Coalition and a member of the Push LA Coalition. When I was 18 years old, I got my first car. I drove a red Chevy Camaro, and I couldn't be more excited to be mobile. The first time I got pulled over, the officer pulled her gun on me and immediately called for backup, all because I had reached for my registration too early. This was not some random white officer from the Valley. This was a black woman officer from Inglewood. I say this because as much as we like to celebrate diversity, it oftentimes doesn't land how anticipated. You can diversify the police force, and the police force will still be anti-black because that's what they're trained to do. I could very well have been in hashtag. I could very well have been dead, all because I reached for my registration too quickly. This is why the community called to get police officers off of traffic stops because of situations like I described. There hasn't been any action on Council File 200875, and we demand answers. We need for City Council not to criminalize the community, and we need for City Council to act immediately. Please be sure to reignite the discussions on Council File 200875 because our community needs to ensure that we have different alternatives for safety and that we have an investment in our whole and well-being, not in police. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Caller ending in 5699, last 4 digits 5699, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Maria Isabel Rutledge. The item is 200875, public comment in general.
So that it's 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling because we need to not have police officers, armed police officers, stopping our people in the black, brown people in South Central LA. They continue to harass, and we would like to demand the committee to schedule a motion to vote with the City Council. If your children lived in this community and your children were the ones being harassed and targeted, I'm sure this would have happened in June when this was supposed to happen. So please, we beg you to have mercy on our children, on our communities. I'm a 68-year-old senior, and a few years ago I got pulled over, and the police officer felt threatened by me because of my color, I would assume, because I drive a hybrid. I don't drive a red Corvette or anything like that. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just there's too much harassment in our community by the police.
Thank you so much. That concludes general public comment. Thank you.
Caller ending in 0969. 0969, press *6 to unmute yourself, please.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Mariana, and I would like to provide general public comment.
Terrific. Thank you. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm calling today once again on behalf of CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, but also part of the Push LA Coalition, just as many folks prior to me have also called. I'm calling in regards to Council File 200875, the alternatives to law enforcement and traffic stops. We are once again calling to urge this committee to schedule this motion, which was first introduced back in 2020. We urge you to schedule it, vote on it, and send it back to Council. Furthermore, we are also here today expressing our disappointment, as a result of the Metro Division being once again redeployed in South LA. We're extremely disappointed that this has taken place when just last summer this division was investigating for falsifying records. which resulted in some officers being charged. Article after article, this has been proven. LA Times has written about it, and again, we're extremely disappointed that this took place Friday, as mentioned by some folks. The criminalization of Black and Latin South Central people is something that continues to be perpetuated by LAPD, and we urge this to come to a complete stop. Schedule this motion for a vote on this committee and remove the Metro LAPD unit from our community.
Thank you so much for your calling. Thank you.
Caller ending in 1552, ending in 1552, press star 6 to unmute yourself, please.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on. Caller with the number ending 1552, if you could please unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
Next caller ending in 4208, ending in 4208, press star 6 to unmute yourself, please. Press star 6, please.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Caller ending in 8497, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 8497. There we go.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Robles, calling to speak on general comment item number 5.
Item number 5. And I'm sorry, you said item 5 and general public comment?
Yes.
Okay, you have 1 minute for each. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is the president of Los Angeles, of LALE. On behalf of our membership, I would like to say thank you for bringing this very important matter to the city council, to your public committee. This is a matter that is critically important for our employer organizations, and we're working in conjunction with the chief of police to help restore confidence in our promotional process, and also to ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion are exhibited within every rank and file of our police organization. More importantly, I think diversity is critical, that we can be a reflection of the community that we protect and serve, and it also builds trust with the community that we're there to support. So thank you very much for bringing this motion into discussion.
Thank you so much.
Caller ending in 4407, numbers ending in 4407, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, caller. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Caller ending in 4407, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Samantha Jones, general comment, please.
Terrific. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
I would just like to talk about the safety of Los Angeles, that we know shootings are up tremendously and homicides are up tremendously, especially in south part of LA. So I support more police, not less, and I thank all the men and women in blue, and whatever you guys can do to protect our city, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That concludes general public comment for today, colleagues. So we will close general public comment. Thank you to all our callers that called in. And colleagues, I would like to take a few items on consent. And so I would ask that we approve the items of 2 through 4 and 7 on consent. If there are any objections? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Calling the roll to approve items 2, 3, 4, and 7 on consent. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Alfaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino.
Aye.
Councilmember De Leon.
Aye.
And Councilmember Harris Dawson is not present. 4 ayes. These items are approved.
Thank you very much. And now that will bring us to item number 1 on today's agenda.
Item number 1 is the Los Angeles Fire Department providing a presentation on 2020 statistics and initiatives.
Thank you so much, colleagues. We are joined today by Chief Terrazas to provide us an overview and discussing the, well, we know what 2020 had in store for us last year and what it continues to provide, the gift that it continues to provide us all. But Chief, I would love for you to just kind of go over some of the statistics and service calls that we've had and provide an overview, particularly for a newer member of the committee. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to brief the Public Safety Committee on the operations of the LAFD for the year of 2020. I've broken down my brief to 7 main categories. They are emergency incident call load, operational response times, staffing, COVID response, brush fire response, innovation, and budget. Much of the data I will talk about can be found in the Fire Facts handout you have been provided. In the area of emergency incident call load, in 2020, the department responded to nearly 440,000 total incidents. 82% of these incidents were for emergency medical services. This represents a reduction of 23,537 incidents from 2019. We believe this reduction was due to the pandemic, which caused some people to not call 911 for fear of being exposed to the coronavirus in our hospitals. Our transport data supports this theory in that we transported 185,680 patients in 2020 as compared to 215,065 in 2019, which is a reduction of 13.6%. 1% of our incidents, or 3,792 incidents, were comprised of structure fires. This is a reduction of 165 structure fires from 2019. The number of homeless-related fires continues to be a growing concern. There were 6,151 total homeless-related fires last year compared to 3,285 fires in 2019. Accidental structure fire deaths in 2020 was 24. In 2019, we had 8, which was exceptionally low. Our 5-year annual average is 17. So we had an increase of 29% above our annual average. In terms of the operational response times, which means the time upon receipt of the call to the time we get on scene, our critical advanced life support calls, the time was 5 minutes and 45 seconds, the same as it was in 2019. These are the calls such as cardiac arrest, stroke, heart attack, things of that nature. Our structure fire calls, our response time for those was 5 minutes and 3 seconds, which was 2 seconds slower than in 2019 when it was 5 minutes and 1 second. In terms of staffing, currently the department has 3,377 sworn members, comprised of women at 3.65%, African Americans at 11.3%, Hispanics at 32%, Asians at 6.8%, and Caucasians at 46.5%. We also hired 99 new members in 2020. In terms of COVID response, since the pandemic began last March, the men and women of the LAFD have been on the front lines of COVID testing, and since December, COVID vaccinating. To date, we have tested nearly 4 million and vaccinated approximately 325,000 Angelenos. This includes people living in skilled nursing facilities, people experiencing homelessness, and our own firefighters. We could not have done this without our partners at CORE, Curative, Carbon Health, USC, and the Dodger organization. Together, we staff 7 fixed sites and 7 mobile teams. The members of the LAFD are providing program management, oversight, and logistics support at each of our locations. Dodger Stadium has been transformed into a mega vaccination site where we can handle up to 12,000 vaccinations a day. We also vaccinate at Lincoln Park, Hanson Dam, Crenshaw Christian Center, San Fernando Park, and Pierce Junior College, which can handle 2,000 vaccinations each per day. Combined with Dodger Stadium, our daily capacity is 22,000 per day, or 132,000 per week. Our capacity is only limited by the amount of vaccines we receive each week. In recent weeks, our mobile vaccination teams have been deployed in CD 8 and 9 in Los Angeles. This week, we began operating a mobile team in CD 14 in East LA. And next week, we will be in CD 6 in the San Fernando Valley and CD 1 in Northeast Los Angeles, followed by CD 7, 13, and 10 in the coming weeks. In terms of our brush fire response, the year 2020 was the state's worst ever brush fire season. In fact, 5 of the largest brush fires in the state history were recorded in 2020. We continue to maintain our preparedness for brush fires within our city and throughout the state. It is critical that we support the state effort so that we maintain our brush firefighting skills as we rely on state resources when we have large brush fires here in Los Angeles. We use modern technology with our Wi-Fi system to quickly predict a brush fire's path in order to facilitate effective communications. We also use our fleet of drones with infrared cameras to detect hotspots after the active fire is knocked down. This allows us to ground our helicopters to increase safety and save the engine runtime, which we calculate comes to $7,000 per hour. Another part of our brush response is our annual brush clearance effort. Our brush clearance unit maintains our brush clearance regulations in the very high fire severity zones. I'm proud to say that our inspectors completed 100% of the brush inspections, totaling 140,000 parcels. Their efforts definitely contributed to a safer brush season here in our city. In terms of innovation, the LAFD continues to be a leader by being innovative to protect the lives of the people we serve. Thanks to a generous donation by the LAFD Foundation, the department is the first in the nation to add a robotic firefighting vehicle to its fleet. It's called the RS3 and is housed with our urban search and rescue team at Fire Station 88. It is deployed to significant structure fire incidents, especially where there is a concern of wall collapse. To date, the RS3 has been assigned to 6 incidents and delivered water on 3 fires. I'm confident that this new tool will save firefighter lives and reduce injuries. The RS3 has been in operation since October of last year. This summer, the LAFD will be the first department in North America and the 4th city in the world to operate an electric fire engine. We anticipate delivery in July and will deploy it to Hollywood's Fire Station 82, where we are partnering with the Department of Water and Power to install a rapid charging electrical system. We anticipate the electric fire engine will get much attention from the fire service community and appreciate the opportunity to once again be a fire service leader. In terms of budget, aside from being innovative, the department has been creative. Understanding the financial crisis of our city, the department is well on our way to achieving our 3% budget reduction ask. We have mainly done so by reducing our firefighter hiring, operating with unfilled vacancies, and eliminating our variably staffed EMT ambulances. Additionally, I'm very pleased to say that the United Firefighters of Los Angeles, Local 112, have negotiated and ratified with the city an agreement to defer raises in order to assist the city in covering our budget deficit. In closing, I'm extremely proud of the men and women of the LAFD as they continue to handle our daily call load of over 1,300 emergency incidents, stand ready to meet the annual brush fire threat while meeting the highly unusual challenge of addressing the COVID-19 pandemic for the people of our city. We cannot accomplish any of the things I have covered with you if we did not have the support of Mayor Garcetti, the City Council, and our Fire Commission. So on behalf of our members, I thank you for your continued and longstanding support of the LAFD. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you so much, Chief, and for the fact sheet that you provided as well. We appreciate that. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't first thank all the men and women of the fire department and, of course, under your leadership to really be on the front lines of addressing the needs of the pandemic and adjusting the workload in order to accommodate and be as nimble as you've been with the testing, with the administration of the vaccine, everything that this department has done. And I would be remiss if I didn't also recognize, of course, the efforts of the police department and the men and women of LAPD and what their work has been in adjusting to be the front lines of this pandemic. 2020 was just incredible. And I'm, you know, representing a district that has had three of the largest wildfires in the city's history. You know, I couldn't be more grateful, and I'm hoping that we will, you know, get away with not having any major incidents to further complicate the demand and the workload of the men and women of this department. But I just want to first say thank you all so much for what you've provided during this time, because it's been made really clear how much the success of the rollout from the testing sites to now the vaccine distribution, that it's been successful as a result of the leadership of this department. And so I want to thank you all for that incredible work.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, no, it's well earned, and you all know that I don't give out compliments easy. So, so I want to, I gotta really acknowledge the incredible work that you've all done. That said, obviously we've seen some alarming trends with respect to fires, arsons in particular, and related to homeless. And I know we have an item on today's agenda to cover, you know, some of the concerns that I've raised just with respect to Caltrans and our need to better coordinate those resources. You know, where are we seeing predominantly a growth in this number? Is it specific to encampments? Is it specific to vacant buildings or vacant sites given the pandemic? What is the trend with respect to some of these arsons?
It's primarily the encampment fires, the tent fires. We've been looking at that data for a few years now, and the data consistently shows it's 1/3 from heating fires, 1/3 from cooking fires, and 1/3, approximately 1/3 from spite. It is a growing problem. It's going to continue as long as we have homelessness out in the streets. We do have very fast response time, so we limit the fire, but it doesn't take a lot of time for a tent to burn up. It's filled with combustibles. Those encampments typically have a lot of personal belongings, which anything close to the fire, they're usually consumed by the fire. So it is something that we're tracking, and it's not going to go away until we deal with the homelessness issue.
Yeah, and so just going back to, you know, I think some of the call loads that you referenced as well, and, you know, we're trying to, you know, I know, again, going back to, we'll have this, we'll do a deeper dive on the conversation with respect to fire response on Caltrans properties, because I know a lot of, some of our major incidents really occurred along their right-of-ways. And I want to really get to the root of finding out how we can better do the preventative work in collaboration with other agencies to help reduce that call load and the circumstances that grow and emanate out of those incidents. But with respect to the response given COVID, even on with the rescue ambulances, and you know, I want to also thank you for the collaboration to help get COVID care kits to, you know, on those rescues and getting them into the hands of the family members in the hardest hit communities. That collaboration I thought was really helpful. but are we starting to see more of a drop-off in the call load related to COVID cases? Are we still seeing a high number? What are our call loads looking like for rescue?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The COVID care kits, I know was your idea, and it was an excellent one. We've been handing them out regularly, and they have been very popular with the families who really don't have the resources to provide for those items. In terms of call load, our call load is down slightly, and our transports are down as well. We believe it's the fear of contracting COVID that's preventing people from calling 911, and it's a real tragedy because some people may be having a heart attack and they need to call 911. So that is an issue. We do see it slowly trending back up, but we're still not back up to the pre-COVID timeframe.
Thank you. And colleagues, I want to go ahead and open it up. I have a couple more questions, but happy to open it up for you all to have an opportunity to ask any questions. Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chief Terrazas. Good to see you and for this update. Question about female firefighter recruitment. What are your thoughts on that in terms of what has been? Are you receiving more applications or more interest from women than previous years? And what are your thoughts about making sure that we can expand upon that program, provided the interest, and hopefully there is great interest there.
Yes, Councilman, thank you for that question. Our candidate pool is approximately 9 to 10% female. Every 2 years that we open up the candidate pool. We made dramatic improvements starting about 5 years ago. Our limiting factor right now is the number of classes. Because of our deficit this current fiscal year, we were forced to cut our current class in half and delay the April class until July. Under normal time, every class results in approximately a 0.2% increase in our female population. Today, we're about 3.6. By the end of next fiscal year, we'll be slightly above 4. My goal that I stated in 2015 was 5%, and I still think it's a viable goal, and we'll get there as long as we continue our hiring practice. We've hired the majority of our females in the last 5 to 6 years. We've had a huge amount of females retire. Had we not had those retirements, we'd be well above 5%. But I still think 5% is a very realistic goal. And because of the resources provided by this council, we have a very effective recruitment capability for females, for minorities, and we work very closely with personnel department to attract a very diversified workforce. And what is your knowledge and approach and inclusion as it relates to people who don't identify as male or female, in other words, non-binary? I would imagine, representative of the general population, you have interest from that community as well. We need to do a better job in that area, to be honest with you. We don't have anybody not identified with either gender at this time. We have hit a few of the events to try to diversify the recruitment, but we have not been successful in that arena. But we're not going to stop we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to recruit a very diversified workforce. Does the fire department collateral, as it relates to recruitment, is that inclusive? Is that all inclusive to today's standards in relation to non-binary? I don't understand your question exactly, sir. In other words, sorry about that, Chief. So in other words, when the fire department publishes, notices to apply and become a firefighter, et cetera, has anyone in personnel looked through the lens of all inclusivity circa 2021? No, we don't we don't track anything outside of the normal genders and ethnicities. We did participate in some recruitment events with LGBTQ events, transgender events, but firefighting is a unique profession because we live together for 24 hours at a time. And I think that may be one of the barriers to attracting people from that background into our department.
I don't doubt it whatsoever. I would suggest then, when you do work with LGBTQ organizations, specifically inquire to them on their thoughts and input on how to really, I think, provide an all open, all in approach to welcoming firefighters. I would imagine that would be the best way to, I think, give that very, very sensitive and compassionate input, because there's probably a population out there that, as you just mentioned, perhaps doesn't feel that it is an occupation for them necessarily, and that could probably change with a little bit of evolving into language that would encourage participation.
Will do. Thank you for that recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo your comments to the Chief, the pride and joy of Wilmington, Chief Terrazas. Thank you for your leadership over the years, your collaboration with this council and this body, recognizing the work that the men and women of the LA Fire Department, the number one fire department in the country, and we pride ourselves on the work that the men and women do, the fire department, and particularly in 2020, as Ms. Rodriguez pointed out. They were,
I just have to correct you. It's number one in the world.
In the world, thank you, worldwide. Thank you, Madam Chair. Particularly in 2020, how, as Ms. Rodriguez pointed out, how your firefighters and the personnel were nimble and quick to respond to the pandemic. Working late hours, and want to recognize, I see Chief Crowley here on the line as well, her and her team. The fact that you have a great working relationship with our labor partners at UFLAC and Freddie, who's leading UFLAC today. We pride ourselves on the work that the firefighters do every single day at all levels, and I appreciate the report. Going off of our chair's questions as it relates to the homeless issue facing our city. According to the fact sheet, Chief, that you provided, 6,151 fires were homeless related, nearly double the number in 2019, double. So what percentage of the overall number of fires does this comprise of?
We separate the homeless from homeless-related fires from structure fires. In 2020, we had 440,000 total incidents, and well over 80% was EMS. So there's about 17% that are fire-related. So it's a standalone metric that we track, and we have been proactive in terms of working with business owners to harden their buildings, because there are those 10 fires that are on the sidewalk that sometimes take off and extend into their business. So we've been creative in making suggestions on how to better protect. As you know, right now, LAPD, there's an injunction to remove people from the sidewalks. That has kind of created an issue for us, because we cannot, we don't have the authority to remove people from in front of a business at this time.
So of those fires that occurred, and I want to get to what your recommendations would be moving on, but of the fires that occurred at the homeless encampments, does the department have a breakdown of how many were tent-related fires versus makeshift shelters?
No, we categorize them all as tent fires.
All tent fires, okay. Of the 3,792 structure fires last year, how many were homeless related? Do we know that?
I do not know that offhand, but we can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, that would be helpful. And then going back to recommendations based on the staggering numbers of tent fires, what recommendations does the department have for reducing the number of fires at homeless encampments?
We've worked with LASA and Rec and Park. LASA primarily in the urban areas of the city to educate the homeless on fire safety. They've passed out flyers. We put signage on buildings. We worked with Rec and Park to get the homeless encampments out of the brush, as we have had fires start from homeless encampments in the brush. We have taken walking tours with business improvement districts to give the property and business owners recommendations on how to harden their business. We have suggested things like exterior sprinklers, which would prevent fires from extending into the building. We've suggested closing off windows. Fire will break through panes of glass, but if you put block there, you're going to have more protection.
I understand. I appreciate y'all working in the outreach to the businesses, but I'm talking particularly about the homeless encampments.
Well, LASA has been the primary tool to interact with our homeless population in the encampments. We're on scene whenever we're called, and we'll be there quick. But like I said previously, the fires really take off, and usually when we get there, the tent is totally engulfed, and there's little we can do at that point.
So based on your experience and what you're hearing from the men and women on the ground, would you point to the fact that we are allowing unlimited amount of personal property at these encampment sites that can easily spark a fire at these tents, therefore risking the lives of homeless individuals?
Without a doubt, the more combustibles on scene add to the fire load. And when the tent takes off, anything nearby will be ignited.
For example, I mean, I've always wanted to be a firefighter. For the record, I got on the wrong line. As you know, I told you this. But
Not surprising, Mr. Buscaino.
For example, Chief, pallets, correct?
Yes.
Trash?
Yes.
Would you say maybe clothing or spoiled food? Barbecues, correct?
Yeah, all of that.
Propane tanks?
We've had that as well.
Yeah. Buckets of feces and urine? Doesn't help.
Right.
So would you then say it's incumbent upon us to help the most vulnerable to prevent these fires at these encampments by cleaning the encampments?
It would definitely assist us in addressing that problem. I think the fires would be smaller in nature, and our response time is excellent. We get there quickly.
Yep.
I think that is a partial solution. I also think the pallet shelters idea that's spreading throughout the city is another excellent solution.
And as it relates to homeless-related deaths or EMS incidents in 2020, we are continuing to see a higher number of homeless-related deaths in our city limits. Do we have a way of? Do we know exactly how many EMS incidents were reported?
We do have data on that, and we can provide you with that number. We recently provided that information to Judge Carter.
You did?
Yes. Okay,
just offline, if you can provide that to my staff, that would be really helpful.
Will do.
And in light of, I want to recognize also Mr. O'Farrell. Thank you for your line of questioning on an inclusive fire department that embraces everyone regardless of gender identity. Racial issues cropping up at fire stations. What are we doing? Are you hearing from fire stations of what's professional standards? Are they dealing with some of the racial issues happening within the walls of fire stations throughout the city?
We were a few years ago when Colin Kaepernick first took a knee with the NFL, and we had some heated discussions within the fire station about what that meant, what that represented. Subsequent to that, we've shined a light on the issue. We have been very transparent in terms of communicating messaging about the importance and value of diversity. We do have a plan as soon as the pandemic is over. We do want to have a program called Critical Conversations. That's where we're going to have a facilitator go to each station and then actually talk about the importance of diversity and encourage open dialogue. So to answer your question, we are doing a lot of things to value diversity. We are having regular communication from myself to the field about the importance of that. We're here to serve the public.
Fantastic.
Our intent is to reflect the people that we serve, and we are always looking for innovative ideas to enhance our performance in that area.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Madam Chair. I know you and our council president has helped lead that effort to open the doors, per se, to our girls and women, introduce them to the fire department, and we're happy to host one of the academies here on Terminal Island. That was amazing, and in fact, my neighbor, little Gina down the street, really enjoyed her time, and we had great mentors for her. And I know she, like many other girls around the city, were afforded that opportunity to be exposed and be introduced to the fire department. Thank you for your leadership. Appreciate your responses.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Really important questions to also cover. And Chief Will, I did introduce a motion also in light of the insurrection, and we discovered that there were individuals from members of our police department that were there. And, I just wanted to comment. I mean, this isn't part of this item specifically, but I think it's really important that we set the tone. And I think in line with Mr. Buscaino's question, to really strongly communicate what it means to be a member of the city family and a public servant. And not just with respect to tolerance and acceptance of people that are not looking like us or come from our same socioeconomic background or where we have differences of opinion. But when it comes to, for example, the insurrection of government, it really has zero place for members who have the intention of serving the public. And so I'm hopeful that we didn't have any members of the department that engaged in any level of those activities, but I think it's really important to make sure that we communicate that clearly to any member of the city family.
Agreed.
Yeah. Mr. De Leon.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you very much for your leadership. Chief, thank you very much for your leadership, your continued leadership during a very difficult moment in our history. I want to recognize also to the incredible women and men who comprise of some of LA's finest, if not the nation's finest fire department. So again, I want to thank you very much for your leadership, and obviously you're a former, pilot, Banning High School, in Wilmington High, not Wilmington High, but the community of Wilmington at Banning High School. And I don't know if a lot of folks know that, you are part of two city football championship teams. I heard it was a pick between you and Vince Ferragamo, for the LA Rams. He decided to go to the Rams. He decided to go to the LA Fire Department. But I know you're a hometown boy, and obviously you got your master's degree at Cal State LA.
Thank you.
In City 14, so we're proud of you, and obviously because you're a person of color, a Latino to be specific, the first, at least my understanding, to be at the helm of the best fire department in the country. I want to thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Also, too, I want to recognize, and I think my colleagues on the committee made reference on several occasions with regards to response times. And I think you may have been lagging a little bit on the 2-second, longer response times, given the context of being in the COVID era, that's pretty damn good. So again, thank you for your response times, whether it's structural fires or it's emergency medical services that are needed by our Angelinos. So thank you. And again, thank you for, quite frankly, I think one of the untold stories, hopefully when the dust settles, it will be well known how LA Fire Department, the men and women have really stepped up with regards to COVID-19 PCR examination, diagnostic examinations, and have made that pivot, to now to the vaccine. Whether it's Moderna, whether it's Pfizer, we know we've spoken incessantly on the supply issue and manufacturing issue, the bottleneck. If they just give it to us, directly, it'd be a lot better in terms of process efficiency and getting it to those who need it the most in Los Angeles. But the fact that the men and women of LAFD have really stepped up and are part of that infrastructure, in fact, a larger infrastructure of the LA County in its totality is quite impressive. So I want to recognize that. I want to thank you much for that as well. A couple points. One is clearly you gave some of the data points with regards to the demography of the makeup of LAFD. Presumably, I don't know if it's in the aggregate or if it's rank and file, and then you have administration or if which one it is. But 31%, I think, Latino, 11.1% African American, 3%. I echo the comments from my colleagues as well as our LGBTQIA, non-binary community. It's important that we always have an inclusive, diverse institution. I know that you will work hard towards that endeavor. 31% Latinos, I think it's a fantastic number. I think by all accounts, we know that's still not where we need to be given the demographics of the city, which is, I think, 50%, which is half. So I know we clearly need to make bigger strides with women at the LAFD, but under your helm, we've had exponential growth, and I expect nothing but good things in terms of intentional recruitment and making sure we give them all the tools to be successful so they can be part of LA's finest. Now, I want to go back to an issue with regards to local hires and local recruitment. I know that you're particularly close to the LA Fire Academy at your old alma mater down in Wilmington, at Banning High School. I think that it'd be great in terms of when we move forward in transforming our economy, when we move forward with regards to how do we grow a middle class in a city that's increasingly polarized economically between the very, very wealthy, some of the most wealthiest people on planet Earth, and some of the most poorest people, in the country. That middle class is hollowing out dramatically. And I can't think of a better middle class job with a salary, a good salary, with benefits, health care, as well as a defined benefit pension plan that can put you into the middle class. That means, recruitment in the Boyle Heights area, in the MacArthur Park, Pico Union area, your backyard where you grew up, in Wilmington, in Pedro, in Watts, in Pacoima, and elsewhere. Let's talk a little about the local recruitment, because I don't see where it needs to be at a different place to get Angelinos who are within the city of LA, born and raised, if not born to heck, raised in the city of LA, have skin in the game, but we need to make sure that we have that connection, that ability, that we prepare folks, because if we leave it to the free market by itself, obviously fire departments historically throughout the country have been litigated because of lack of diversity, but it was a different type of affirmative action based on your last name, that based on your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your brother, how you really, that pipeline connection. And it took litigation to really open it up right there. So let's talk a little about local hires and what we can do to change that, because it's not about just local hires. It's about transforming the economy, expanding that middle class, and starting filling that hollow ground that we have right now in terms of the economy in LA.
Yeah, I share your concern on that issue. it's very disappointing to me that we rarely, I shouldn't say rarely, less than 20% of the time we hire young men and women from the city as new firefighters. 6 years ago, I looked into with the city attorney our ability to bonus residents of the city. And at the time we were told can't do that. And we still bring it up occasionally, but I haven't got the legal authority to mandate it. We used to do that. When I was hired, you had to live within the city limits. So what I've chosen to do is in effect, work around it by creating high school magnets, firefighter magnets. The first one being at Manning High School. And then the next one was Wilson. And then we had Dorsey and Monroe. So those young men and women, 5 years ago, we started with a freshman class. They're now about 22, 23. They're not competitive yet with the people that apply now. The average age of our new hires is about 28. We do have many military veterans, many with bachelor degrees, many that are paramedics, but I do feel we're on the right path. In the near future, we will see some of those students from those high school academies become LAFD firefighters. Other things we've done, it was mentioned earlier, our girls' camp. That's a much younger age, but we have opened the door to young women potentially becoming firefighters. And we do that 2 to 3 times a year under non-pandemic conditions. It's been suspended, but we will return to that. We also have our Crew 3 youth program that handles clearing brush. They're volunteers, they're young adults. We have hired many of those people, and many of those people actually come from the city. So we've been working the edges, if you will, to cultivate from within our city limits future firefighters so that we can reflect the people that we serve.
Well, thank you, Chief. And I think that perhaps maybe we can gently nudge or maybe more assertively nudge the city attorney's office and figure out what type of interpretation they're making, because it sounds like a very simple, decision to make if we want to do an extra weighted formula system, which I've seen on numerous occasions. If you are, in fact, a city resident, born or raised, either one or both, and how we can help transform this economy of the city of LA. So more than happy to work with my colleagues, with our chair. Monica Rodriguez, I know, has her DNA is LAFD without question. In her family, it's in her blood. She always speaks proudly, about her father and the LAFD and what you all mean to her, and I'm in admiration of that. And I think that having more opportunities for our residents in the city of LA, how we can grow that middle class, how we can have good jobs, accessible, and we have to figure out what the interesting legal interpretations or perhaps misinterpretations our city attorney's office is applying in this case. So I want to thank you very much. I'm going to still trying to figure out how we get that. I don't want to offend Councilmember O'Farrell. I'm going to try to get that electric fire truck, away from Hollywood and bring it over to Wall Heights. I think it's a better fit in Wall Heights. But that being said, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. De Leon. And I'll also have some of the brief history about how the originations of the Fire Academy program actually commenced in your district at Roosevelt High School when my dad used to be stationed at Fire Station 2 in Boyle Heights. So I can share a lot of stories and histories about the origination of those programs and how they have that curriculum and that mentorship has been instrumental in helping to grow local talent into the fire service. And we have some outstanding members from your community, in fact, that are now achieving the ranks of Captain 2s engineers and have been in the drill tower. So happy to apprise you of some of the incredible gains in that area. But trust me when I say I'm in it to make sure that we do more, and you know, appreciate your interest in that issue. But Chief, and just I think, you know, kind of in continuum of that line of questioning, you know, I'm very excited about the passage of Prop 19 and what that will potentially mean for additional resources to support the hiring that we need. I'm really grateful to IAFF and UFLAC for their leadership in helping us garner some of the SAFER grants that have helped to restore a lot of the services and the engine companies that were cut as a result of the last recession. I know that said, we're going to be bringing back an item. I introduced a motion to start working on what our restoration plans for full staffing look like, and helping to meet the needs of some of our service gaps, as I know you're very familiar with. But my final question for you with respect to this is, when we talk about first ins and the deployment of our resources in the coverage area for some of these stations, how often is that reevaluated based on the construction and planning for new units of housing in these areas? How often is that? Are those lines adjusted to address the growth of an area?
Very good question. We do not redraw the lines very often. Typically, it occurs when we open up a new fire station in a different location, and then we adjust the first in districts accordingly. The closest we can come to that is when there's a major development in a council district. We have input into the EIR, and we recommend an additional engine or ambulance, whatever the case may be. But typically, that recommendation would be just an additional resource into an existing fire station. As you know, it's very expensive to build a new fire station. It's somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million each, and we have 106. We don't need to replace all of them, of course. Our last proposition was a bond, Prop F, and we built about 19 new fire stations. And I should say replaced. We replaced all except for one. There was one new one in Councilmember Buscaino's district, 36, which was new. So the answer to your question is we rarely redraw the district lines unless we have a new station to put in that area.
Okay. Well, I look forward to our continued conversation on that. I know we are seeing a lot of large-scale projects that are coming into certain neighborhoods, and I know we're also talking about Fire Station 31 to help fulfill that promised station for to close the gaps in service in Sylmar. But again, my thanks to you for everything and the work that the men and women in this department are doing during these very difficult times. But just again, the flexibility and adaptation of just putting yourselves out there, doing what you always do, is really doing an outstanding job in the roles right now. And my big concern is making sure that we recover all of the resources that are due to plug the financial gaps that have impacted this department. But again, the service is, I think we've made a mark of success here in Los Angeles, given the work of the men and women of this department. And so for that, I thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for the opportunity to give a brief in our activities for last year. I do look forward, like all of you, to a better 2021. I think the arrival of the vaccine has been, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe that our capacity to vaccinate is going to have a great deal with returning a sense of normalcy to the people of Los Angeles. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you.
And so, colleagues, now that I want to go ahead and quickly bring up item 5. We can take that quickly.
Item number 5 is a motion by Rodriguez and Krikorian relative to a comparative analysis of the current race and ethnicity and gender demographics of sworn personnel in the Los Angeles Police Department as compared to 10 years ago, and a forecast of where the LAPD expects to be in the next 5 years.
Thank you so much. And colleagues, so this item, I believe we have Commander Flores. Dominic Choi is here. Good to see you. And so, colleagues, we as Mr. O'Farrell raised the concerns, and all of you, with respect to diversity and inclusion as it relates to the fire department. Obviously, we are also very much concerned about assuring the continued growth and diversity in the ranks of the Los Angeles Police Department. This motion was brought to the attention because as we talk about diversity, it's important that we talk about diversity amongst the ranks and the continued ascension of the men and women who reflect the diversity of this city, that they have the continued opportunity for upward promotional opportunities, and make sure that they're able to navigate a process that is transparent and accessible for everyone. And so it's for that reason that I brought this motion forward to assure that we have a trajectory of individuals that come from the community that have the opportunity to continue to ascend the ranks in law enforcement, and make sure that we have diversity reflective in all of the leadership roles of this department. And so Dominic and Ruby, I want to thank you guys for being here to be part of this conversation. My only question is, I again requested a report so that we could really have a deeper dive on what our diversity looks like throughout the ranks. And so if you could just provide some insight as to when we might expect this information to come back to this committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, council members. So this, I believe this motion was originally brought up a few months ago. We did have an opportunity to get some data together, although, however, it's not finalized. I would anticipate within 30 days we can have a completed report. Part of the motion requests that we have it reviewed by the Civil Rights and the Civil Human Rights Equity Department with the Mayor's Office. I spoke to somebody from that office today. They will be involved in the review process as we develop and finalize the report for council. So I would say 30 days is reasonable to have it finalized, and a deeper dive. What we look like 5 years from now will be challenging. We'll look at attrition rates. We'll look at people that are in drop. And we'll do a thorough projection of what we believe it may be. But the numbers going backwards and the current numbers we can get that without any issue.
Terrific, thank you. Just to be clear about what, obviously there were concerns that were raised from some of the ethnic associations and organizations of the department, raising concerns about the ability to navigate what has historically been some of the testing and promotional opportunities that was perhaps adapted as a result of COVID, and what that might have impacted in terms of our ability to really sustain and grow the diversity in those ranks. And so, I believe it's really important to have a clear process that is one for everyone understands and isn't going to be manipulated, shouldn't be ever changing with any one particular leader of the department. It should be really determined by how do you assess the best, most qualified individuals with the talents, and how are you, frankly, mentoring individuals to help ascend those opportunities and to navigate that. historically always been a challenge. It doesn't matter which department you talk about. I'm not going to single you out for that, but obviously as an organization of as large as this department is, I think it's really important to continue to exude transparency in the process to assure that we have the kind of matriculation and leadership and frankly it's the long-term planning and mentorship that I think is so important and instrumental to helping to assure diversity for our department. And so, colleagues, I don't know if you had any questions on this. I just wanted that was my only question.
Madam Chair, if I may, I appreciate you raising this and elevating this discussion in a time where we have to remind our residents and the pundits of LAPD how far this police agency has come. Remind ourselves that we are the largest reformed police department in the country today. And Ms. Rodriguez, as you and I know in our affiliation with National League of Cities, and Mr. O'Farrell, clearly your experience with NLC, it prides me, and I don't know if you've shared this experience, when our colleagues, local elected officials from across the country come to us at our convenings and ask us, can you explain to me a little bit about your police commission? Can you explain to me your community-based policing philosophies? Can you explain to me what community safety partnership is? We are at the forefront of innovation, of inclusivity, to the point where other local leaders are coming to us, other police agencies around the world are coming to us. And in this particular motion before us, recognizing that 70% of the LAPD are either women or people of color. Commander Flores, remind me, is it 70 or is it over 70? What are those numbers? Chief Choi, am I in the ballpark?
Well, currently we have about 18% women, and let's see here, we have 50% Hispanic, a little over 9% African American, almost 8% Asian American, 2.5% Filipino, Caucasians at 29%. So we have a majority of the department is a minority diverse group.
Let the record reflect, I think I'm in court right now, but let the record reflect how far this agency has come. I appreciate the continued effort of recognizing this, but also recognizing the fact that we're not done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. And again, we look forward to having that report come back to this committee. And thank you for reaching out to the equity, oh gosh, why did I already forget the name? The Civil and Human Rights. I know they changed the name. So
that department.
Yeah, but thank you all very much. Thank you for your work, Ruby. It's good to see you. And again, this is a very important issue. I know not just for the city, but obviously for this department. And so I want to thank you for your work on this, and we look forward to seeing that report. So colleagues, with that, I'd like to go ahead and recommend that we adopt this motion and look forward to the forthcoming report in 30 days. So seeing no objections, would you please call the roll?
Calling the roll to approve item number 5, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino.
Aye.
Councilmember DeLeon.
Aye.
And for the record, Councilmember Harris Dawson is absent. 4 ayes. This motion is approved.
Thank you so much. You guys stay safe. And colleagues, that now brings us to item number 6 on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Item number 6 is a Los Angeles Fire Department report relative to efforts to keep the city safe by enforcing brush clearance in very high fire hazard severity zones, specifically near Caltrans Parcels, recovery of sworn resources, responding to false alarms, and staff to administer the program.
Thank you so much. And I know we have Assistant Chief Sanders, I believe. Sanders, are you here? There. Oh, you guys. I think I see you guys together. Okay. So, colleagues, this item is related to brush clearance in the high fire severity zone. And, it's an issue, as I mentioned to the chief earlier, that has really affected my district substantially as a result of some of the major wildfires that we've had erupt. But the bigger problem that we've been facing, and I know, Mr. De Leon, with as many freeways as you have intersecting your district, I know I have several in my own, but the lack of maintenance and support from Caltrans has really exacerbated and created a greater high fire danger in many of our communities. And it's for that reason that I wanted to bring this item forward, for us to have a conversation around our work with Caltrans in holding them accountable in the response and the load that we have as a result of their lack of maintenance. So really trying to ascertain what the response has been required of the fire department as a result of fires that ensue in areas that are Caltrans property. And so Assistant Chief Saunders, again, thank you so much for making yourself available today. So I just want to begin with, well, actually, if you want to go ahead and provide an opportunity for an update on the relationship and working relationship with Caltrans, or my experience, the lack thereof, but I'm hoping you'll tell me something different. But I want to go ahead and turn it over to you to kind of explain that history and context of my colleagues. And we can't hear you. We can't hear you guys. We're waiting on getting their audio squared away.
Madam Chair, I'm going to set up Chief Saunders in this office.
Perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
Hi, Chief.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and honorable committee members. I'm Orrin Saunders, Assistant Chief and Assistant Fire Marshal for the Fire Department. The Fire Department strives to provide effective fire prevention and public safety. Effective brush clearance is an essential tool we utilize to protect property in the very high fire severity zone. Maintenance of Caltrans right-of-way is an ongoing fire prevention challenge. The LFD Brush Clearance Unit drafted an MOU in 2007, although it was not fully executed. We use that as a guiding document for Caltrans and the Brush Clearance Unit. The fire departments agreed to email areas of concerns with Caltrans with the informal agreement, and they take care of those areas of concern in some areas. Although in sometimes we utilize this method since 2007. Although in the last few years, this has posed a greater challenge in getting areas cleared, and we've brought that to Caltrans' attention. LFD does not have jurisdiction over Caltrans, and this has been an increasing challenge. An increase in encampments of people experiencing homelessness, along with new policies in Caltrans' organization with COVID-19, has hampered their ability to clear brush. A formalized agreement between Caltrans and the LAFD that is binding would be a major benefit and critical in clearing areas in the Caltrans right-of-way for the fire department.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to discuss, I know there's an existing MOU.
Yeah, there was an MOU that was drafted, although it wasn't fully executed. So they didn't fully sign it, although there's just been an agreement through email. We've used that since 2007. But really, we need a formalized binding, I think, agreement that would really, I think the binding agreement would definitely provide us that teeth that we utilize since we don't have that areas of jurisdiction with Caltrans.
So is that something that was administered or signed by the local district? Did it go to state transportation commission? What entity would have you guys engaged with in terms of engaging in that MOU?
We're normally speaking with the local Caltrans representatives for this branch for Caltrans, but we know to get that signed, that was going to have to go up to Sacramento for that binding agreement. You know, that's been a challenge with other areas of jurisdiction and actually getting those formal binding agreements. I know that was even the challenge here was actually getting the signature to get that formal implementation of the document.
So I'm just curious, is this something that we should perhaps pursue with the city attorney's office to have a binding agreement in order to, because look, it presents a high fire, it adds a burden for our response. We've seen a growth in terms of their lack of maintenance in a lot of these areas. They present high fire danger. The added encampments, as the chief indicated earlier, we've seen a rise in the amount of fires that ensue as a result. So the combination of those two things in their right-of-way doesn't help, particularly exacerbated in locations where we have high fire severity. You know, when we had the Latuna fire, it was initially one of the largest wildfire requiring evacuations of upwards of 50,000 residents. It was the Creek fire that resulted in nearly half of my district, 115,000 being evacuated. And so, but you know, going back to Latuna, when it jumped the freeway and it you know, it started in the freeway, the Caltrans right-of-way, they present some very substantial costs and present a hazard to residents and those individuals that are encamped in those areas. So it presents itself to be a very imminent danger. So in terms of, you know, I understand that you've had some difficulties in terms of really tracking exactly the locations of what of the, you know, in terms of being able to report. But is there any methodology that you can deploy to give us some kind of rough idea in terms of the scale of the fires or fires that have been reported to some of these locations?
The magnitude of the fires, they vary in size, scope, and complexity. Some is just with one engine responding to a small minor rubbish fire that's contained rather quickly, to those that require multiple companies with additional resources. We're requesting to large-scale brush fires utilizing multiple agencies that take several days to contain. So this is the full gamut of the scope of fires we're talking about. But with the people experiencing homelessness in some of the encampments, some of those fires are rather frequent, and some of the rubbish fires, and then those that then extend into the brush. That's where we really have the challenge. If we are aided by wind and other environmental factors that may cause the fire to spread rather quickly.
And so, because we don't have access or don't have an executed, like, formalized MOU. We don't have the ability to conduct brush clearance in the same way that we do against private property owners. That's correct.
That's correct. So since we don't have the jurisdiction over that entity, that what a binding MOU would then allow us to do will be to then clear the brush if they don't clear it within that specified number of days, and then charge the state for the brush clearance that we then provide.
So we basically have no accountability from Caltrans for anything that is conducted in their right-of-way.
That's correct. So sometimes we have a little leverage, but it's very, since we really don't have that area jurisdiction, that definitely poses a major challenge for us.
Okay. So, I mean, I think, colleagues, I think you see where I'm going with this. Mr. O'Farrell?
Madam Chair, you are being very decent and courteous and kind. This is derelict in its duties as it relates to Caltrans properties. The conditions are atrocious, and this should be a front page article in the LA Times. It won't be, but it should be. The problems, because of their lack of any kind of maintenance, even in non-COVID times, is really unacceptable, for starters. Freeways crisscross my district, and I can give you a number of exits where this reporting makes a whole lot of sense in terms of the correlation between fires at some of our homeless encampments, where they're right up against brush because Caltrans hasn't done any brush clearing. So that's one issue where they're totally related, not to mention just high fire severity danger zones that you mentioned, Madam Chair. So we absolutely need that binding agreement. And is it District 7? Is Caltrans District 7, if I'm not mistaken, or 8?
Correct.
7? Yeah, 7 covers all of LA. I have friends at Caltrans. We've negotiated a few interesting things, including the Armenian Gateway in Hollywood. Not easy. It took years and years and years. They are a very challenging, difficult bureaucracy. We need help from the state. The dereliction in duty from the state as it relates to Caltrans maintenance is harming our city. So anything we can do, resolution, lobbying efforts, whatever it may be, we need to shout this to the highest on the hill and the rooftops. We need binding agreements, partnerships, and if Caltrans won't do it, we need to, and they need to pay us.
Hear, hear, Mr. O'Farrell.
Well, this is where we're headed, Mr. O'Farrell. This is exactly why we have this motion. Mr. Buscaino.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, for introducing this, and I echo Mitch's frustrations with Caltrans, to the point where I worked with our state legislator Mike Gibson, who was effective in calling them to the table. But I'm reminded of our colleague, Mr. De Leon, who sits on this committee, who can shake things up, I believe, in his previous relationships with Caltrans. And we're lucky to have him here.
Go, Kevin.
To bang on the door, Kevin. Bang on the door so they can listen to us and share our frustrations as it relates to holding Caltrans accountable for the maintenance and upkeep. And quite frankly, we all know the outreach of the homeless individuals living in these embankments, in these high fire zones, who oftentimes we see are triggering these fires as reported by the fire department. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Mr. De Leon, did you have any questions? Because if not, we're going to give you assignments too, because you got to help us blow up Caltrans. I'm just saying, you got to help us beat down that door, because the city of Los Angeles is taking the heat. It's been a challenge. So colleagues, so Chief, thank you so much for the information. We certainly were. This comes as no surprise that Caltrans has been negligent in maintaining their areas. It has caused us great challenges in many of our high fire areas and continues to present itself as being a severe public safety hazard, not just for those in and around and encamped in those areas, but more so, even more so amongst the individuals that continue to have to be evacuated as a result of their negligence and lack of maintenance in their right-of-way. So with that, colleagues, I'd like to recommend that we note and file the LAFD report and direct the LAFD to report back with recommendations to develop and execute an MOU and or options to develop shared policies with Caltrans to improve brush clearance cooperation and response during emergencies such as red flag days. And so, colleagues, thank you. We can go ahead and
Calling the roll to note and file as amended, item number 6, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Alfaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino.
Aye.
Councilmember De Leon.
Aye.
Thank you. And Councilmember Harris Dawson, for the record, is absent. 4 ayes. This item is approved as amended.
What's the suspense for?
Madam Chair, I'm going to recommend Kevin De Leon be chair of the ad hoc Caltrans committee.
Second.
Second, yes. All those in
Well,
favor?
through the chair and through my colleagues, Mr. Farrell and Mr. Buscaino, I hear you loud and clear. I can tell you this, even when I was pro tem of the Senate, which had direct control of a lot of my bicameral colleagues on the Assembly side of the budget, I can tell you that Caltrans being probably if not one of the largest transportation government agencies, is a very non-responsive, entity. But that being said, the testimonials from all of my colleagues and many other folks too, including state legislators, is real and genuine. I've heard it up and down the state of California. The amount of trash that is on state Caltrans properties that continues to just be out there is unacceptable. And the fact that it's, to our chair's point, that impacts our city visually. And we're not responsible, but nonetheless, how many calls have we received to go out there and clean up all the trash, on state property? So here. I second that symbolic, sort of the sentiment that everyone has through this motion, obviously. And we have a lot of work to do, but looking forward. We should make that demand a meeting with the director of Caltrans, as well as the regional director down here in Los Angeles. I would highly recommend that.
Well, we're definitely pursuing that. Thank you so much. And colleagues, I believe that clears the desk, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair. No further items on our table.
Thank you all so much. You all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all.